Oh, hello, and welcome to Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
And I'm Dr. Leviathan.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories most creepy and most pasta. Tonight we've got the Russian sleep experiment. For those of you joining us for the first time, CreepyPasta is in essence the next wave of scary campfire stories, but on the internet. The name comes from short stories that were copied and pasted across the internet, and the term got shortened to a slang called copypasta, and the scary ones were deemed creepypasta. So, yes, we're doing the Russian sleep experiment. We've both read it rather recently. And we have some views on it. At least one of us really does.
Oh, we both do.
Just one's more positive than the other.
We can agree to disagree.
Yeah, of course.
We can also agree that I'm right.
Okay, so the story, and for those of you that want to read the story beforehand, we've checked it out at creepypasta.wiki, our staple for getting these sites, or for getting these stories. And I've checked it out at Mr. Creepypasta on YouTube. So check it out, and we'll wait.
Oh, we're back to ones that he's done?
Yeah. Well, again, this is a relatively popular one.
I don't know their relative popularity. You tell me what story to read, and I read it.
Yeah, and I'm also, I say relatively only because that's seems to be the case for top 10 lists on the internet, so take that with a grain of salt. So yeah, this one takes place, or it's like a document of some kind, and it describes back in 1940 that the Russians were conducting experiments on POWs and political prisoners. I believe. Just random, just the unwanted, like the undesirables.
Yeah,
of
malcontents and whatnot.
Yeah. And it describes a procedure where they were putting these people into a chamber with a gas or stimulant that would keep them awake, and their experiment was to see if they could, to see what would happen after like a month of being constantly awake. And they had like the right oxygen and gas mix so that they wouldn't like just suffocate from just having the gas pumped in. And they had enough food, and they had reading material and all that stuff. And they didn't have any surveillance cameras.
And oddly enough, cots.
Yeah.
Because,
Well, you want something comfortable to sit on, right?
Stay awake for 30 days.
Here's a cot. Here's a bed. Attempting. Here's a golden apple.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't you do it.
But here you go.
Might as well just be pumping in lullabies on through the speakers. Because that's all they had. They had like a speaker, like a two-way speaker, I believe.
Yeah, there was an intercom apparently,
yeah.
And porthole type mirror, like
a large, thick porthole style window to look into. Because they didn't have surveillance cameras back then.
Yeah, I get somewhere in the story, I get the impression that it's a two-way mirror or a one-way mirror or whatever. You know what I mean?
All right. For some reason, I always thought it was maybe because I just recently seen like the Chernobyl diaries, where they just flick open the this window inside of a steel door, and then they look in and then they close it. That's kind of for some reason what I got, but
they literally reference portholes.
Okay,
like on a ship.
Okay. Again, I might have been it might have been because I was watching that, and that's just what visually popped in my head. So we're off to a great start.
See, this is why your opinion doesn't matter. You can't get your shit straight. I love you, cultist.
Okay, so yeah, they go in. They lock, seal it up, start venting. They go about, I think, 3 or 4 days before they start going paranoia, like trying to coerce their experimenters for freedom in exchange for like stuff that the other guys have done or something that they know about. And then about the about the fifth day, I think it is when stuff starts happening, and one of the people
9 days.
9 days. Okay, sorry, yeah, 9 days, and the one guy just starts running around the room, screaming his lungs out, almost, just constantly doing that for like hours and hours on end, and the others don't seem to be paying it any mind. Like they're just nonchalantly, they're not even acknowledging it at all.
Just going about their day.
Yeah. And then at some point, eventually that guy, like within like a couple of days or something, he
after 3 hours he loses the ability.
Really, only 3 hours? Okay, wow.
Well, think about the way it's described. It's like he's just giving it his all. And I mean, have you ever, talked to someone the day after they go to a rock concert or something? Like how I don't go to concerts, but how long is your typical concert? Probably under 3 hours.
Yeah.
So that the amount of screaming they did then has left them hoarse, and this guy, like, I'm led to believe that he has no restraint on his screaming.
Yeah, so he just rips
like,
it. Yeah.
He's screaming till it hurts, and then he doesn't feel the pain, so he keeps going.
Yeah.
You know? So that's the impression I was given.
Yeah.
So
I just didn't realize it was that like short of time period. I thought it was.
It did kind of make me go like, well, really? And then I thought about it a little bit, and I was like, okay. I mean, I don't know about everything. I like to pretend I do, but I don't, so I'm gonna give you a pass on this so far. And then they're like, and then they say his vocal cord literally snapped, and then I was kind of like, well.
I just thought he just ripped his vocal cords like from the strain.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Okay,
that's what they say, and I'm like, well, again, I don't know things, but I can't just give you a pass on that. Like, yeah, maybe whatever.
Okay. Suffice to say, he screams for that long time and then stops because he can't anymore. And then the others, while this is all going on, they start putting like papers with their feces on it and start like covering up the porthole to keep it from the other people seeing their stuff or seeing what they're doing. And then everything goes kind of silent there for a while inside the chamber, and the experimenters don't know what's going on, and they try to get reactions, or they hear whispering, and they hear some more shouting, and then it all goes silent. For how many days? Like just 3 days? Okay. And they eventually announce that they're going to be going in, or they're going to open the doors, lie down and with your hands on your head and stuff. And if you comply, you'll be one of you will be let free. And then they get a response from that, and it's like a quiet voice, and it's like, "We don't want to leave here anymore," or something like that.
We no longer want to be freed.
That's it. And so eventually the experimenters and the government official guys and stuff say, well, let's open the hatch, let's figure out what's going on. And they open the door, and it's like, from what I understand, it's like an abattoir. It's just like there's chunks of flesh from the one guy who's dead inside the drainage pipe on the floor, or in the drain on the floor, clogging up from the water. And so there's like 2 or 3, is it feet or inches of water? Like, it's a lot. There's a fair amount of water on the floor.
Yeah, there's. I'm trying to figure this out. Keep going.
Yeah.
Regardless, there's standing water in the room.
Yeah, there's standing water, and they couldn't figure out how much of it was blood and how much of it was water. the other guys, like, I mean, this guy was
4 inches.
4 inches of water, and this guy was horribly like mangled and just ripped apart, and they clogged him up into the drain. And the the other three are still alive, or other four are still alive, but not by much because they too have chunks of flesh. You can see their rib cages and like their bones and stuff like that in certain spots, like they'd ripped open and like they ripped them off, like stuff had been ripped off, and like their organs were some of them were spilling out.
No. The organs below the rib cage of all 4 test subjects, I'm assuming these are the 4 living ones,
Yeah.
had been removed.
Oh, like I thought they were just dragging around.
See,
No?
now this is
Ah.
where not only is it just pure and utter BS, it's just, okay, so they're dead. But
Yeah.
they're not dead. Well, but they can't be alive. But they're not dead. Why aren't they dead? Because I say so.
Yeah, okay.
You understand? This is where I'm just like... where I just can't be bothered with this story anymore. I'm like... Yeah.
Alright. Suffice to say, it's grotesque, it's horrifying what they look like, because especially since it seems like it's all self-inflicted, and they've been eating their own flesh over the last couple of days. The KG or these Spetsnaz soldiers or trained guys are like, even they can't take it. Apparently, some of them are committing suicide after this event, as it is said. And they eventually try to get these guys out of this room to do surgery to fix what's wrong with them. Because what I always thought was that their organs weren't... they'd spilled out, but I didn't think that they were still...
I read you an actual quote from the...
Okay. So, okay, then my
thing.
mind is just... My mind, I guess, just trying to gloss
The
over
abdominal organs below the rib cage of all 4 test subjects had been removed. Straight up quote.
Just, okay. Alright, I guess a part of my mind was just like, oh, well, like, they're removed, like, they're still there, but they're just hanging or something. Okay, but anyways. I obviously may have been mistaken.
The term removed.
It's not there. I
Yeah,
understand.
it's...
Okay.
The writer seems to be under the impression that with the heart, lungs, and diaphragm in place, that
You can
someone
survive.
can still survive. Actually, my favorite part, this one is my favorite of why they can't be alive. All the blood vessels and organs remained intact. They had just been taken out and laid on the floor. Now, again...
What?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right?
And I had read this, like, not, like, today. And you too. It's just like, I didn't catch that part. I've also read this once or twice before, so I can't believe I didn't recognize... Wow, okay.
Now, again, because they're still alive, you can be, you can make the leap that they're all still intact, attached, and functioning.
They're just... That's what I kind of figured, but...
they don't
yeah, I know,
say
they don't mention
that.
it. Yeah, they leave
They
that...
don't say that. They do say that, fanning out around the eviscerated bodies, or the eviscerated but still living bodies of the subjects.
Yeah.
Like, they're not saying that it's still attached. They're saying that it was removed, and it's just,
Okay.
It's...
Yeah, they left something out that they probably should have kept. They should have put it left in. Or...
They left ambiguous something that should have been stated cold and hard.
Yeah.
Several times. And,
Yeah.
like, yes, this is how it is because this, as opposed to, like, they have nothing, they have no insides. Their insides are just all over the room.
But they're still alive.
Because I say so. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, it's just...
Okay, we'll continue.
Yeah.
So they're brought out through with a lot of fighting because they don't want to be let out of this room. They don't want to be taken off the gas. and they're brought over to surgery rooms or like a medical area.
Which
and,
I gotta point out, if these people have like this much, not even like the trauma of, this sort of impromptu operations that they've done on themselves or each other.
Yeah.
But just the fact that it's stated over and over again that they have removed muscle tissue.
Yeah.
Well, where do they have the strength or, like, even
to
the
fight,
ability to fight? I mean, I'm led to believe that these guys are basically walking skeletons.
Yeah, that's kind of what you get the impression of. Like, their skin and huge chunks of their, like, flesh on their arms, I assume, and their chest and stuff of that are all gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of, it's really gore for gore's sake at that point.
But at the same time, like, without muscle, you have no strength. So if they've removed so much muscle, how can, like, trained military guys not be able to just handle them I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand not being able to touch that, or not wanting to touch that.
Yeah, like, do not want.
But, I don't know, just...
Especially since they also lost, like, a couple of soldiers to these guys. Like, one got, like, slashed in the throat. Well,
one of his throat, like, ripped out, and the other one had...
were gone, and then, like, also, like, he one of them bit one of his arteries on his leg.
Oh, that was the guy who lost the testicle.
Yeah. And just, like, and then, like, yeah, they fight through these guys. They fight to get these guys onto the surgery or whatever. With them arguing and like just like screaming and whatnot, and I think what was it? They talked to one of them before they try to put him under or something, and he writes like get a notebook and pencil.
Oh no! First they put one under
and
to operate,
yeah.
and he just dies.
Yeah,
and then and honestly, okay. What were they gonna try and do for these, poor souls, if you will?
Like, try to put them back together again. Humpty Dumpty this shit. But yeah, it's...
But, like, what were they honestly going to try and do?
Also, the fact that, like, they try, twice? Or one should have been enough, but they try twice and lose two of them to sedatives?
No, they lose.
No, they don't. Yeah, they don't lose. Yeah, they only lose one to sedatives. The other one like writes in, don't sedate.
Yeah, this is the second one who screamed, or one of the two that screamed, and he's like trying to say something, and obviously he can't. So they give him a pen and paper, and honestly, based on these guys' behavior at this point. My general assumption would be that he'd take the pen and, like, ram it in someone's eye. I was totally expecting that, but instead he's just like, don't put me under. I mean, okay. Honestly, how can the scientists not have figured that out from the first guy? Like, oh, we put him under, he dies. Like, cause and effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, the fact that they had to be told this, whatever.
Yeah. And so but then they proceed to go forward with a operation to put him back together while he's not sedated, and he's just like he's fully aware and conscious for this operation for 6 hours, and it unnerves one of the nurses because he like just tries to give this like really creepy grin whenever he looks at her. It's just and like that's all I remember from that, and it's just like. And they proceed to do this for the other two, I think, right? Like to set them like do these operations while they're still like awake and conscious of, and like, but apparently don't feel the pain at all.
Yeah, basically.
And they actually have to use a paralytic on the one guy to stop him from laughing and whatnot.
Yeah. At this point, I'd been reading, I'd basically switched off, so my memory's not the best. But yeah, I recall that.
Okay, so anyways, so they do the operation stuff. They're asked to go back into the thing. They ask why, and the one, and then they're all brought back into the chamber, and a couple of researchers go back in there with them, and they're going to close the doors. But then one of the researchers snaps pulls out his gun, kills two of the officers, kills two of the two experiments, and then leaves one of them, and then says what the hell are you? I'm not being stuck in here with you guys. What are you?
He's trying to get them to
figure out what's going on.
Open it up because they've started locking him in to pump the gas, and he's like, well, I don't want to be like one of these fuckers.
Yeah.
So he has the last one. He kills everyone else in the room to show, yeah, I'm serious. And he's holding the gun on the last one to say, saying, hey, let me out. I don't want to be in here. I will shoot him.
Mm-hmm. But he does ask him, what the hell are you?
I'm Batman.
Not quite, but he's essentially goes on this little blurb about how they are. It's they're us. They are within us all. This madness from primordial times. The things that we fear in the dark. That they can. The only respite we have against them is in our dreams and in sleep and stuff. And then the guy just proceeds to shoot him in the heart. And the closing of this is that the ending of the story is him in his last death throes or whatever, whispering, it's almost free.
So nearly free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paraphrasing. I apologize.
Just
yeah. And that's the story. So
yeah, that's the story.
Would you like me to go grab your soapbox, Mr. Dr. Leviathan?
No, it's just, honestly, I just, first and foremost, I will give whoever the hell wrote this, the one bit of kudos that I can give anyone. This is during the night. It apparently all takes place during the 1940s, and it's a horrific experiment. And they didn't use Nazis like anyone else would have.
Yeah.
I read 1940s. I was like, are we sure this isn't Nazis?
The Nazi sleep experiment.
And just reading the story, it seems so very much like your typical Nazi horror story, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can really say that it's nice to see someone taking the high road in regards to this story, but, at least they didn't go with the often traveled and trampled,
It was Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny because I had a conversation with somebody about that earlier this week. It's man, we really do, kind of just hammer in, Nazis as our go-to supervillains in real life.
They're basically, people forget that, scientists, that, people all over the world have done sick
horrible stuff.
Crazy things. But, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, poor Nazis.
Yeah, no, nobody's saying that.
Yeah, let's just get that clear, because, I don't want that. I don't want to be known for that.
Yeah.
The Nazis were horrible, but there have been,
so many other
equally horrible. Well, okay, Nazis did it on a whole new scale, but there have been so many other horrible people.
Yeah,
it's
other experiments have been done in the name of science. That weren't done by the Nazis. There's other atrocities that have been done.
Yeah.
Before and after.
Exactly. It's, again, not going to try and defend the Nazis, but it is good to see someone not,
diversifying your
shit on them again.
Diversifying your the background of a horror story.
Yeah.
Or of an atrocity. So, yeah.
So, there's that. I found something positive to say.
Yeah, I did like my reason. I think that's the reason I liked it. I mean, I was a little like, oh god, so much freaking gore, but I liked the ending bit of it where like you find out why these things, or like what, or you get like a kind of like a brief, you get a glimpse at to what's motivating these corpses, essentially these living corpses. It intrigued me at the very least.
For me, though, it just didn't seem, I don't know, remotely... I kind of want to use the term accurate, but that's not quite right, but...
You want a little bit more science?
Well, no, it's just, they're just like, oh, we are what, you hide from yourself.
This is why you go to sleep at night, and why you don't stay awake for too long.
It's like, well, first off, I've stayed awake really long durations of time. I mean, nothing like, measuring, 4 or 5 days, but, I mean...
Well, they do mention, like, the first couple of days, it was just normal paranoia and, like, aggravation for being up that late.
Yeah, but...
I understand what you're going with. Where
they're just... Yeah. Oh, we are what you hide from in your beds every night. They're not saying anything. It's just nonsense. And that's all I can view it as, because it doesn't make any sense, doesn't say anything, and...
At the same time, hang on, it could be that that was supposed to also emulate the ravings of a madman. Like it could have just been gibberish that this guy, like right before he died or before he was killed, was just raving about.
But here's the thing: it was delivered in the story in a manner that we're supposed to be like, "Oh my god, that's so deep and shit." Meanwhile, all I see is pretension. That's what it is. It's pretentious bullshit, and. You throw me basically, I don't know, a room full of a Saw movie.
Yeah.
Where people are fantastically not alive, or not dead from it all, which, through science, no less.
It does.
Science doesn't work that way. The human body... doesn't work that way. I don't care how long you're awake. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
'Cause fuck. So this completely gratuitous bullshit horrible thing.
So I'm gonna put a censor on there.
Is trying to be pretentious all of a sudden at the end and try and evoke some sort of deep meaning, which it has none of throughout its entirety. It just tries to slapdash some bullshit at the end, and you're just like, oh, it's so... No! No! It's meaningless, just like the rest of this. Just like everything else. I mean... And here's where it really irks me, because I've seen pretty much this exact same thing done, and done well, to the point where I love the ever-living shit out of it. The main difference being, it wasn't done through science, it was done with magic, which, I mean, hey, magic.
Yeah.
So, you can do that with magic. You can't do that with science. Because, I mean, the Cenobites are amazing. They're fun as hell creations. They're just... I mean, while being absolutely horrible, they're happy-go-lucky, crazy, sick disgustingness.
Yeah.
But there's no BS behind it, because it's like, yeah, you know what? You know how they survived that? Well, they didn't. They're dead, and magic.
Yeah.
It's not science. It's not any BS. How can they walk around like that? Well,
Magic.
magic, yeah. Should they be dead? Well, yeah, they're kind of not alive or dead at this point. Whereas this, you want me to believe
They were trying to go for a more realistic angle, and
they're trying to go for a more realistic angle with
something
blood vessels and organs removed but still functioning.
At the very least, they're trying to go with a realistic angle by implementing, but using like magic kind of theme or a super science kind of theme that doesn't exist.
They were trying to use science as magic, and it just doesn't work that way.
Yes, yeah.
Anyone who knows the least bit about science is going to be like, well, that's BS. And as soon as you're like, well, that's BS with science, like, this is where using science as your Deus Ex Machina is a horrible idea. Because as soon as someone can say, well, I can't because, this can't happen this way because science, then they immediately...
You lose that person.
Yeah, they're gone. You've lost them and you can't get them back because they've disproved everything. They've disproved what you've said with science, which means everything else is in doubt. Like, whereas with magic, you can say, well, they lived because magic. How can I, with, I can't firmly label what magic can and can't do. I can fairly firmly, with fair certainty, call into question things with science.
Yeah.
But with magic, I'm just like, well, fuck, you got me, magic.
Yeah. Stuff that we don't comprehend.
So, it's kind of, that's pretty much where, I don't know, this whole thing just lost me, and it lost me early on, and it just kept
coming back. And just
kept, as soon as, okay, it pisses me off. Fine, cool, whatever. This isn't the first thing to piss me off, and it by far has not pissed me off the most of, like, even just things we've read for these, whatchamacallit?
CreepyPastas?
Yeah. Like, this is actually fairly mild irritation in comparison to some. But they just keep going at it. And they keep, it's like, oh, here's something else. Here's something else. Here's something else. It's like, fine.
Okay.
just, yeah. Oh.
All right. Do you have anything to say about its the editorial, the edit on it from an editing point of view? Like writing wise, was it okay or?
It was actually fairly decent. I mean, it had its moments, but it wasn't. Again, it wasn't as bad as some other ones, but
the content really irked you.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to focus on the writing when on the mechanics of someone's writing when the BS of their story is just so horrible. And I really do have to apologize for my language for all of this.
I'll put a disclaimer on this one.
I'm just, yeah. I don't know what it is. Maybe I haven't gotten enough sleep.
Yeah.
But I'm irritated to no end with this one. I remember flaws in the mechanics of the writing, but off the top of my head, I can't think of them. However, one thing I would like to say, if you want a fun story about a experiment of just going without sleep, the X-Files episode Sleepless was really fun. and didn't have the level of carnage that this one had.
Yeah, this one was definitely going for a more visceral horror.
Oh,
than
it was going
anything
for
else.
it was going for a cheap disgust
Yeah.
thrill or, creep out, and
It's
like it was effective, but because once you start getting into organs and all that stuff, that's where I just kind of like, all right, seriously, why'd you have to do that?
yeah.
I can handle a lot of things going into certain aspects that we're gone into here, and I'm just like, you ass.
Okay. Now, after Dr. Leviathan's little tirade on the soapbox, would you believe that this is actually a very popular creepypasta?
You know what? After Jeff was, I can believe pretty much any tripe is.
Like, it is on most, from what I understand, it's on most top 10 lists. There was a point in its history where people thought that this was an actual thing.
Yeah, that's because you think how stupid the average person is? Yeah. And they're the average.
Mm-hmm.
But
not you, audience. Not you.
I can believe that people thought this thing was true because, I'm pretty aware of how stupid
it was a controversially kind of reasoning. Like, people what, just the way it was laid out. Some other stories of things that have come up because
people
around
are
it.
stupid.
Yeah.
They thought it was real. That's really all you have to say.
It's like the Blair Witch Project.
I genuinely just... I know I should apologize for calling so many people stupid, but I can't.
All right.
And, if you're in our audience and I just called you stupid, think about it.
Wow. Okay.
That's all I gotta say. If someone's offended that I just called them or someone they know stupid because they fell for this, they really got to take a look at what they thought was real and change something about themselves. Either become, a little more thick-skinned and be able to take someone saying that, or improve themselves intellectually.
Fair enough.
Because to be able to believe this requires you not knowing so much that if people believed this once upon a time, then yeah. I can't say anything other than these people must have been stupid.
Okay.
And I wonder how many of them worked in government positions.
So what you're saying is that you wouldn't recommend this?
If you want gore porn, go ahead.
Okay.
If you want something that's going to make you think, this one will make you think. This one will make you think about how it's absolutely moronic, but it will make you think. But, anything that this thing does, other things do better.
Like Sleepless on the X-Files.
Yeah, and that was just, there was a lot of reasons why that one was fun, but yeah, it was just, it's bad. And if you want, the whole, someone tearing at themselves, just read good old classic horror. It's out there. This is a really bad example of, of something good. Like, someone with talent, someone who knows what they're doing, a master of the craft, if you will, could have taken this idea and made it something, like, absolutely phenomenal. This was not written by one of them.
No. It was, after all, likely done by an amateur writer.
Yeah, but we've seen good stuff come from amateur writers, so I'm sorry, not an excuse.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was put out there, so, you know, again, the fact that it's popular kind of befuddles me, but
yeah,
whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I'm honestly, my recommendation would be, again, if you like gore porn, or like a very, very cheap, like visceral thrill, maybe. But otherwise, kind of what the doctor said.
Or watch a Saw movie. There's like 8 or 9 of them.
Yeah.
You know?
It might be a good read, only just to kind of get a vibe for like, or maybe just to kind of like to go if you were like marathoning a top 10 list. But that's about it.
Even then, I'm so surprised with what makes it to top 10 list that I'd say just skip doing a marathon of a top 10 list and go to the CreepyPasta wiki site, hit random pasta, and, you know, take your chances.
It did work out last episode.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I haven't done it that much, and I've found one good one, but I don't think I've found anything that, you know, I took like a personal offense. Like I have some of the things that you've gotten me to read from your much lauded top 10 lists.
Well, I'm just using that as a focus, like because it's there's such a broad world out there.
I hear you, and you know that's also how I mean, if we talk about a pasta that other people have read, then, you know, people are more likely to listen to our little thing. I get it. Because, you know, and if you take popular ones, well, more people have read it.
Yeah. And, I mean, I've read, these are the ones I've also read, so and I enjoyed them for the most part. Though, with this show, I'm getting a little bit more insight into the flaws of what I've read that I may not have noticed the first time reading them.
Well, yeah.
I may be one of those idiot people. Though I didn't think it was real.
Well, no.
Go on record to say that.
And honestly, if you like something, that's fine. That's your opinion. You know? I just, you know, which my opinion is that this is shit. Well, if you like it, fine, cool. You know, you just don't yell as much on the show.
Yeah, no. Secretly the other reason I have you around. No.
I'm assuming that's the reason you asked me here in the first place, that I get riled up.
Yes. And with that, that's it for tonight. But if you liked what you heard, leave us a comment below or send it to eldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com, where you can also send us suggestions for other creepypasta we should discuss on the show. You know, not just the popular ones. Like if you know one that's
if
not
you've
very
got
popular,
a favorite that you want, you know, to find out what we think about it.
Yeah. Send it to us through email or through a comment wherever these are posted. And we'll read it and we'll discuss it on the show at some point. Like we're planning on doing this for the indefinite future, so until we run out of stories, or until we just give up. But I don't know if whatever comes first. So.
Or until you get your wish and my gray matter goes through the grinder.
Yes. Until next time, I'm your host, Review Cultist.
And I'm Dr. Leviathan.
And this has been El Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.